Finally got some chance to make some YouTube videos. I apologize that I didn't make a YouTube video on Thursday because I got hit with some bad news at my job. And lucky for you guys, you'll still get some YouTube videos all summer long. But there is going to be a period where you'll get some videos, and there'll be a period where you won't get no videos. And it's not on purpose, it's just that it's one of those situations where I'm changing jobs. I'm not sure if my job that I have currently is going to be employing us for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't want to wait for an investor to come at the last minute and buy the company, and then people can stay at their job. I'm just going to go buy me a security guard card and, go either Hollywood or go Santa Monica or whatever I choose. But it'll take care of itself. Now, this YouTube video is going to be called Sex Game, Sex with Women, but yes, they're hypergamous. Now, I would not be a real YouTuber if I did not make that video. I mean, every YouTuber has commented on women's nature of being hypergamous. And I'm here to do one of those videos of facts and friction. And the reason why I say it's going to be that type of video is because, pickup artists and dating coaches are just now telling you women are hypergamous. But you should know pickup artists and dating coaches very well. They never exactly tell you the whole entire truth, because they don't know how. Now, and I already told you, if there's only one person you should listen to at this point at 75 to 80%, that is Matt Cross from the 33 Secrets. And even if I say he's the only person you can trust, just remember, his first profession is he's a pickup artist / dating coach. He's telling more of the truth because he has an obligation. And, he has a lot of younger men looking up to him for help and for advice. And the minute he starts acting like a pickup artist, they're going to drop him like a bad habit. So he has to tell the truth. On the other hand, I'm not a pickup artist. I'm not a dating coach. I'm a guy who likes to tell the truth like an asshole. Now, when they say hypergamous, what they're talking about is a woman's expensive lifestyle. And if you know popular cities in Los Angeles, California, I'm going to tell you the top places where you're going to meet women that are hypergamous. If you go to the Grove, that's where I work at. I'm not going to tell you the name of the store because it's currently going out of business. And there's a good chance I might get a new job at the Grove. I don't know what it is, but I am going to get a new job at the Grove. That is very hypergamous. Women expect nothing but 100%. And you see, this is why I say a lot of you men from the ages of 18 to 29, and I extended it to the age of 18 to 35. For this video, I'm going to extend it to the age of 50. And that is, you have to understand that, you are living in a world where there are some women that are hypergamous. And the word hypergamous actually really means lifestyle. And back in the 80s and the 90s when I was a kid, they used to say this woman's high maintenance, meaning she would want more than's above her means. And you see, what people don't understand is when you go above your means, that is a disaster for what's the word I'm looking for? It's a disaster it's a disaster movie, because you're asking for so much, and this person may not be able to give you that lifestyle. That's when you see a woman dump a guy she been dating or been boyfriend and girlfriend with for about 5 years or 7 or 8 or 9 or close to 10 years, and all of a sudden this guy gets dumped from out of nowhere because he has trouble, trying to get a second job, or he gets 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and the girl is still bitching and complaining. So a lot of times, the average man has 2 jobs, but then there comes a time where 2 jobs is not enough. So the guy goes out and he gets 3 jobs, and he's making anywhere between maybe $500 to maybe $2,000 or $3,000, if lucky, $10,000 to $15,000 if he's lucky, and because she has an expensive lifestyle, he has to keep up with that lifestyle. You heard of a television show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians, right? That is a representation of what hypergamous is. Can you keep up with my ridiculous, expensive lifestyle? And a lot of men have had trouble with that in the last 15, 16, 17 years. And you see, when women have this lifestyle, you have to understand there's actually 3 levels of hypergamous. And some might even actually argue it's not 3 levels, it's actually 4 different stages of hypergamous. Stage 1 is where the woman is in high school and college, and her whole entire life she's been poor. She's never had the options to go to a store and buy something that costs $200 or $300 or $400. So she has to save and budget her money. So when she's in high school and college, she go get her a Saturday or Sunday weekend part-time job. And even with that, she still can't get the stuff that all her girlfriends in high school and college got, because if she's not high class or middle class, she cannot afford it. And if she is middle class, she might be able to afford it, but then daddy has her on a budget. So that's stage 1 of hypergamous, if the girl's in high school and college. Some people might say, what if the girl graduate from high school and don't go to college and just go straight to the job world? Okay, then that would probably be stage 2 hypergamous. Stage 2 is she probably came from Texas or Las Vegas or from Florida or from New York to Los Angeles, and basically she's under this false pretense that she thinks whatever she sees, whatever someone else has, she thinks she can have. And you see, what pickup artists and dating coaches don't want to talk about, men can have that type of mind frame too, but they don't say we're hypergamous. I'm going to tell you what they call us when we start to act like females. They'll say you're being materialistic, meaning you're buying materials because you think they'll impress women. So, yeah, there's a male version of hypergamous, but that goes into another category. That goes into wants and needs. And I'm going to make a complete separated video, because I know some women might watch this video and thumbs down the video and say, hey, asshole, why don't you make a video about men who buy stuff materialistic when they don't have to? And I will make a complete separated video on why men buy materialistic things when they don't have to. But this is for men who want to know the stages of hypergamous. Stage 2 is she's from a different city, a different state, and when she first comes to California, she gets exposed to one of these locations. Hollywood, West Hollywood, that's 2. Santa Monica, that's 3. Culver City, I'm not so sure about, so I would probably say 60%. And then there's Santa Monica. And when she gets a taste of that lifestyle, she don't want to go back to being low class. She don't want to go back to being middle class. She wants to be high class. And the problem with that is you have to make enough money to afford that lifestyle. There are people who love to have jobs where they can see Hollywood celebrities, right? And the problem with that is it's hard to see Hollywood celebrities at your job if your job's going out of business like mine's and you can't, replicate that success. You can't duplicate that success. And you start scratching your head because you don't know how you're gonna get that income again. But that's another video for another time. This is about hypergamous. So if it's stage 1 and the girl's in high school and college, I don't think you're in any danger. You're not in any complications because the girl's in high school and college and she already has a job on the weekends where she buys her own stuff. Problem is she cannot buy expensive stuff. Now, if she just goes straight out of high school and it's stage 2, again, you're not in any trouble. Now, however, if it's stage 3, where she's a shopaholic and she keeps shopping and keeps shopping and keeps shopping, now you have the potential for future problems. So if you ever take this woman out to lunch and dinner, she's going to always want to go to the most expensive place and eat and drink. And then you always hear men complain that I took her to the most expensive restaurant and she ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and she didn't want to eat anything or drink anything. She just wanted to order it because she wanted to see if I would pay for it or not, to see if I'm a real man. That goes into the form of a shit test and mind games with conjunction of hypergamous, which is an expensive lifestyle. And a lot of men be like, I'm not going to get a kiss on the first date. I'm not even going to get a hug. She ordered the most expensive thing. She didn't eat or drink. She just ordered it just to see how I react. And I already told you, a shit test is better known as a reaction test. And you be shaking your head because when it's 24 hours later, she might go on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat and call her girlfriends and talk about how good or how bad the date went on dinner. And that might factor into, do you get a second or a third date, or you're not going to get no date next time. And that goes in the category of, if one woman like you, all women like you. If one woman hates you, all women hate you. That's something that pickup artists and dating coaches don't like to talk about in their 2-hour, 3-hour, or even 4-hour seminars. Matt Cross knows what I'm talking about because he knows this information. Pickup artists and dating coaches like to keep that information to themselves, and then they have another sector called private seminars, where you got to be with this one pickup artist for almost a year or two so he can give you the private lessons. And the guys who are trying to join their first year can't learn that information. So that gets called private lessons. And in those private lessons, they discuss stage 3. That the girl is going to ask her girlfriend, do you think I should make him order the most expensive thing on the menu or not? And most of the time they're going to say yes. They're going to say if he's a real man and he has money, the answer is yes. Now, for the one that really makes men stay up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning drinking alcohol or taking drugs or making men contemplate suicide, is stage 4 hypergamous. You see it all the time. You see it in movies, television shows. You read about it in books and magazines. They talk about it on YouTube videos, and you see it on the news. Just recently, a former professional basketball player who won 2 NBA championships, played on 6 basketball teams, got inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame 6 years ago. You see him on TNT. I mean, you see him on there with Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Ernie. You know which basketball player I'm talking about. His wife decided to file for divorce. And that's what stage 4 hypergamous is. You go from taking her out to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 dinner dates to dating her for about 3 to 5 years to fall in love, marrying her, having sex and kids and all that, to you've been with this woman for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then when you're no longer accommodating that lifestyle, I want divorce. And you might already have a job that pays thousands or millions of dollars by the time this happens. And you might say, if I'm making literally thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, why on God's green earth would you want a divorce after 10 or 15 or 20 years later? Because stage 4 is simply because the woman's number one intentions was to get with you. The problem was her lifestyle became so more important than all her other obligations that one became her number one priority, and it overpowered what was supposed to be more important. And then this is when you see men starting to wonder, did you ever even like me in the first place? Did you ever even want to be with me in the first place? And you see, the woman will say yes, and a lot of times the answer is yes, but the problem is she got influenced by that lifestyle, and she wanted that, so that's why that happened. Now, what you have to understand about hypergamous is you have to set some ground rules. And I'm talking about if you're a real man, you have to set some ground rules. You're not going to know which woman or which type of woman is hypergamous. See, a lot of men want to say it's just black women. No, it ain't just black women. You got some black women, you got some white women, you got some Latino women that can be hypergamous. There's 4 stages. Stage 1, you're not in any trouble. Stage 2, you're not in any trouble. Stage 3 is where you need to be worried, because it gets from she just wants it 50% of the time to she wants it 60, 70, 80% of the time. And then if it's stage 4, You're probably going to get on a parachute and jump off the airplane like James Bond, because no matter how much money you make at stage 4, no matter how much money you can generate, you can get 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and it still won't be enough for her satisfaction. And you see, if it's been 10 or 15, 20 years later, you might have to accept the reality that you've probably done the absolute best that you possibly could, and just accept the fact that maybe it's time to move on. And some men don't want to hear that, so I have to make some ground rules for future generations on what you can do so it never happens again. If you get a girl who says she likes to eat food, like her favorite thing is to love to eat food, well, you're probably going to have to worry, because in the future, if all she want to do is eat food, unless you're a chubby chaser and you like fat women and you don't care how big they get, unless you're a player or a bad boy, Ringo TV Raw calls it a man whore. He just likes to smash whores. Unless you're a man whore and you like to smash whores, this don't pertain to you. But if you're a man trying to get into a relationship and all she want to do is eat nothing but food, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars as the years go by. You might want to be careful with that. If all she do is shop and shop and shop, and you open up the closet door, you go into the garage, and you see shitloads of stuff that she bought in 5 to 10 years, and she only wears it once or twice, you might want to just be very careful, because you open your mouth and you say something, she might go, what's wrong with that? And you see, I'm going to tell you the one good thing about working in a clothing store full of women. I'm going to tell you the one good thing that comes out of it. You learn how to read women better than you was in high school, better than you was in college. See, high school, you can't read women because, I don't want to use the word stupid, but I'm going to use the word naive. You can't read women in high school because for 4 years you were naive. College, you're starting to mature a bit, and you can read some of the women, but you can't read all the women in college. But when you get a job, doesn't matter if it's your first job, your second job, or your third job, by the time you're 30 or 40, and you've had at least 5 jobs in 20 years, if it's a clothing store, if it's a woman's clothing store that happens to sell men's clothes, like an Old Navy, a Gap, an H&M, I'm just using them as an example, guess what? You will learn how to read women 3 to 5 times better than you did in high school and college. That means you'll know which girls just like to eat fast food and get fat. That's how you know you're going to get a fat girl, because all she does is eat. If you get a girl that has a stuck-up attitude and she, acts bitchy, then that's how you know the girl is, the B word. If you get a girl that always gives off this strong energy that she might be a whore or a slut, you'll know if she's a whore and a slut. Now, I'm not saying all women are hypergamous. What I'm trying to explain to you is there are 4 stages of hypergamous. And stage 3 and stage 4 are the ones you should be very concerned about. Stage 1, if she's in high school and college and she has a part-time job, she can buy some of the stuff without asking you for it. Stage 2 is where she doesn't go to college and just gets a job and still buys the stuff that she wants without asking you for it. Stage 3 is where you've been dating for a while and she's being influenced by other girls, especially if she's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's when you got a problem. If it's older women, it doesn't get better, it just gets worse. Because if she's 30 or 40 or 50, she's probably already past stage 3. She's probably at stage 4. So if you see a woman in her 30s or 40s or 50s demanding you to take them to someplace expensive, she's at stage 4 hypergamous. Because a woman that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, she may not want to go to an expensive restaurant. She might want to go to the movies or the mall or go to a makeup store. You got to wait until young women hit around 24, 25 for them to say, all right, take me to the most expensive restaurant. They're never going to do it right off the bat unless she's been influenced by older women. then you have something to worry about potentially. But what I'm trying to explain to you in this video is that pickup artists and dating coaches, they talk about hypergamous, but there's 4 stages of it. There's not 1, not 2, not 3. There's 4 stages of hypergamous. And you see, you have to understand that the word hypergamous means lifestyle. Back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, they used to say the word high maintenance. The reason why they now change it to hypergamous is because it's her revealing her true colors, her true nature to you. Because she reveals herself to you, and then you find out the terrible shock and truth. Oh my God, I can't believe she's like this. And you see, when you're in high school, you can't read women because you're naive. When you get to college, you can read some of the women. You can't read all the women in college, good or bad. But when you get your first job, your second job, or your third job, you can read women 3 to 5 times better. By then, you'll be in your 30s. You'll be in your 40s by the time you can read women. You'll know which women just love to eat fast food too much. I ain't dating her. She likes to get fat. That's how you get rid of that. Oh, she's a whore. That's how I get rid of that one. Or that one has a stank attitude. She's feminist. I'll get rid of her. Oh, she's indifferent. I'll get rid of her. All she want to do is play mind games. I'll get rid of her. And you want to know one of the best parts about working in a women's clothing store? They tell you all their secrets. Because they either assume that you're gay. I'm just trying to tell you how some women are. Not all women, some. They either think you're gay, or they think you're trustworthy enough, and they just tell you secrets that they won't tell the guys that they play mind games with on the dating websites, or guys have rejected and blown off at their job. And that's how you find out. And then when these women hit the wall, because they remember you when you got your first job or your second job or your third job, guess what happens 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later when they hit the wall? They automatically try to get you to take them out to lunch and dinner. Problem is, you know their personality, good and bad. You can say, well, 20 years ago, I worked with you at our first job, and I know how you are, good and bad. And that's when you start rejecting some of these females, and by the time they approach their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s, they can't handle rejection. Because for so long, they had all the power and the control, and when nature switches the balance, when Mother Nature tips the balance in your favor, in your 30s, and your 40s, and your 50s, they can't handle that. So this video was to explain, yes, have sex with hot women, but just remember, there's 4 stages of hypergamous. And the one you want is between stage 1 and 2. You don't want stage 3. If you get to stage 3, you're going to be putting in so much energy trying to make sure it don't go to stage 4. And history has it that when a girl's at stage 3, it's only a matter of time before she goes to the final stage. And once she gets in her 30s and her 40s and her 50s, it's impossible to get her to go from stage 4 back to stage 1. If you could, it would be between stage 2 and stage 3 hypergamous. Very rare that when a woman gets in her 30s and her 40s and her 50s, she ever wants to go back to stage 1. The only way that's going to happen is if the stock market actually crashes it to the point where everyone has to go back to stage 1. If the stock market crash, you ain't got to worry about a woman being hypergamous no more. Because they'll automatically go back to stage 1. Or as some midtowns might say, not stage 1, stage 0. So this video is just to explain what that's about. Till then, peace.